other offenses. And as part of the deal, federal prosecutors recommend he be sentenced to 20 years in prison instead of the maximum 40 years. The death certificate has been released for a man shot and killed outside Trinity Health's Grand Rapids campus. Henry Weimer died after a confrontation with Grand Rapids police officers November 8th, just a day after his 38th birthday. Crews arrived on the scene after several people in the area called 911 about a man waving a weapon around. While officers attempted to de-escalate the situation, 3 officers ended up firing. Weimer was rushed inside the hospital for treatment but died shortly after. According to his death certificate, an autopsy was performed on Weimer. His manner of death ruled a homicide, noting he had a gunshot wound to his torso. The coroner reported that Weimer succumbed to his injuries within minutes of being shot. An important note, homicide is defined as when one human causes the death of another. Not all homicides are murder, and some are considered lawful. Per department policy, Michigan State Police are investigating the officer-involved shooting.
But the problem is, you guys keep talking.
A heated battle between the John Ball Zoo and people who live around it. Zoo officials recently released the 2025 master plan, and some people are not happy. Fox 17's Olivia Yutuma was at the meeting, and she breaks down parts of the plan that don't sit well with those people.
I've got 3 kids. We come to these parks, we walk this neighborhood. Part of the appeal in moving here to this neighborhood 2 years ago was the abundance of green space, the beautiful trees. To know that that's going to be taken away is pretty disappointing.
Families that live in the neighborhood surrounding John Ball Zoo are not thrilled with its 2025 master plan.
The major concern of our neighbors is the thriving health and safety of our kids.
John Ball Zoo CEO Peter D'Arienzo says the plan aims to help guests better enjoy the zoo.
Trying to show the community that there is a way to build that is in harmony with the natural world, that either reduces our impacts or is restorative.
D'Arienzo says the zoo aims to expand existing exhibits, create new ones, and build one of the world's largest domed habitat spaces.
So our role is to inspire people to connect to wildlife and nature and to take action. And we can't do that without showing them the zoo.
It's what's happening outside the zoo, a proposed parking lot that leaves moms like Emma Garcia uninspired.
They're looking at taking out playground, taking down historic groves of trees, more than was already taken down to pave the 12 acres.
And their kids are upset too.
My 6-year-old is ticked. She often has tirades about how frustrated and disappointed she is.
She explains that for her family of 5 to go to the zoo, it cost them $78 per trip. But the park is free.
To walk the park, to walk under the beautiful trees, to have picnics, to create fairy gardens with my 6-year-old, that's free and accessible for us anytime, and we want to protect that.
Still, D'Arienzo says the county wants modern parking, as the plan details a combination of expanded parking, off-site parking, and a parking garage.
Zoos, museums, gardens, they can't exercise their mission unless people can come to their location.
But in tonight's meeting, the majority of the people were opposed to the new parking plans.
By sliding this plan past the neighbors without an opportunity to engage.
Emma included.
So we're very disappointed that there is absolutely no guarantee at this point that there will be even a sliver of green space left.
The zoo has a different view.
The reality is birds don't nest in the middle of a grassy field. So while that's not our mission, the parking that we're building will actually improve the quality of the habitat.
They have dozens of houses directly lining their property. They're a neighborhood asset of this community, and they have to take that responsibility seriously.
That was Olivia Yutuma reporting. John Ball Zoo is hosting their final meeting for feedback on the master plan later today. For more information on that, head to our website, fox17online.com. Time now is coming up on 5:12. Still ahead at Fox 17 Morning News. The numbers are in, and it's looking like things might be a little better for Americans' wallets this Thanksgiving. The American Farm Bureau shares why you can expect to pay less than you did a year ago. Tarek Skubal is the American League winner of the Cy Young Award. Thomas Cook looks at why he was selected and more later in your morning sports update.
And as we look out at our live Doppler radar, or a loop over the last couple of hours, big low pressure system over the northern lower Michigan, all that blue is snow. Yes, we're seeing the first flakes of the season. It's not going to be a big snowfall, but because it is the first one, the pavement is wet, temperatures are near freezing. There could be some slippery spots. We'll talk forecast details coming up after the break.
And it's birthday time, so we want to wish a very happy 12th birthday to Hannah and a very happy first birthday for Tilly. And another first birthday and smiles for Farley. And Maddie is celebrating her 9th birthday today, and the family with Ethan are going to be celebrating his 9th birthday as well. Then we have Royce, who is now age 12, and 17th birthday for Sam. And Caroline is celebrating her 8th birthday with her favorite elephant. And then Jace Elijah is 15 years old today. So if you have a child in your family ready to celebrate a birthday with you, well, with us too. We'll take your email at mornings@fox17online.com.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a Thursday morning. It's 5:16 as we look out over Holland. If you look in the lights, you can see there is some snow that's falling. What's deceiving on this shot is they have heated streets and pavement out there, so this melts on contact for those folks. But there is some wet pavement that we'll all be dealing with. This is not about a big snowstorm, but we have our red banners just as a heightened awareness to say, hey, you're seeing the first snowflakes of the season out there. We may see some grassy accumulations if you're further south and west of Grand Rapids, from, we'll say, Saugatuck down into South Haven, into Benton Harbor, and over to Kalamazoo. You might end up with a couple of 2-3 inches there before the day is out, and maybe some slushy accumulations even on the pavement, because we think there'll be a burst of heavier snow in those areas. But for all of us, breezy, cold, some snow showers through the morning hours. Wind chills are going to be in the 20s most of the day today. Then it's gloomy and gray for the next few days, and more snow and rain chances coming in as we get into next week. So our northern counties not seeing a whole lot, but right through portions of southern portions of Muskegon County, Ottawa County, Kent County, you can see that heavier band, and then that goes down into southwestern portions of our state as well. But those darker bands of blue, that's those big, fat, thick snowflakes that are coming down, and we're seeing that across Berrien County, southern portions of Van Buren County, Cass County, and into the Three Rivers area in St. Joseph County as well. Temperatures are at or just above the freezing mark, so it stands to reason that, yes, we have some wet pavement. There could be some slippery spots, especially in the rural areas or around bridges and overpasses where that colder air could get around there. That's only part of it. We have a wind chill that feels like it's in the 20s in many spots, and that's going to stay with us through most of the day. We look at our visibilities. That's kind of a proxy for how much snow and how hard the snow is falling. And in the obscured area, when you look out, and you can see we're down to 1.5 mile visibility there in Three Rivers, 1 mile visibility there in Holland. Clouds and radar movement over the last 6 hours will show you that lake effect snow shower activity. And then this band from the low pressure area that's going to rotate on through. 2 to 4 inches expected in eastern Wisconsin with that burst. I don't think we'll see that here. I think we'll only see maybe about 1 inch or 2, especially on grassy areas, maybe about 2 to 3 inches south and west of Grand Rapids with that burst of snow. So cloudy, breezy, cold today, some snow eventually mixing with and changing to some rain showers this afternoon as we warm into the upper 30s to around the 40-degree mark. We'll have a southwest to southeasterly wind at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. There's the low pressure area, and as we get into about 9, 10, 11 o'clock, you can see that burst of snow rotating through and around that low as that drops off to the south. We may actually see some clearing from this system or behind this system a little bit later on this afternoon. Could be a few short-lived breaks of sunshine, but partly to mostly cloudy skies overnight with some lake effect rain showers that will be possible going right into our Friday, especially closer to the lakeshore. Look at all this gray shading on the map, though. Lots of cloud cover even as we go into Friday night. End of the day on Saturday is where we're going to be going, but I think we'll be drier by that time, but just gloomy weather. And this is the time of the year when we traditionally see that. Precipitation chances are highest today. They drop off tomorrow, and then they start to ramp up again on Monday as we get in to next week Monday. Here's our future feels like temperatures. Wanted to show you wind chills. They're going to be mainly in the 20s today. Eventually, they may pop into the 30s, but bottom line, you're probably going to want a winter coat, maybe with some gloves. Those wind chill factors going through the overnight hours again tonight are in the 20s, and then they'll pop up into the 30s again tomorrow. So that's going to be a player. That's going to be a factor in our forecast. So 39 degrees for the high today with that snow this morning, mixing with and changing to some rain showers this afternoon. Scattered rain showers closer to the Lake Michigan shoreline tomorrow. A little bit warmer, about 45 degrees there. We got a chance of showers and breezy on Saturday, but I think a lot of Saturday will be dry. We're only in the 40s as we get into most of next week with some rain chances on Monday, and then some rain and some snow chances coming in for Wednesday and Thursday next week. That's our forecast. Drive safely. It's 5:20. Rob?
Well, if your household is serving up Thanksgiving dinner this year, expect it to pay less at the grocery store compared to 2023. The American Farm Bureau Federation released its annual Thanksgiving dinner survey on Wednesday based on prices they found during the first week of November. Now, for a 10-people meal, a Thanksgiving meal will cost an average of $58.08. That is a 5% decrease from last year, but still 19% higher than before the pandemic. The Farm Bureau priced out everything from the turkey and stuffing to frozen peas and dinner rolls, whatever. Most items saw a drop in costs, but processed foods went up. As for the main attraction, the turkey, Michigan Farm Bureau's lead economist, Lauren Kuhlman, says the drop in the price of the turkey is having the biggest impact.
We're seeing turkey being the major piece, right? The major cost, the centerpiece of the meal is down about 6% this year. And so that's probably the biggest driver of the reduction. But we are seeing reductions in the milk, for example, pumpkin pie mix, frozen peas, any number of things. We're really in a good supply situation for most of these products. And turkeys is no exception, right? We have a great supply of turkeys this year.
Now, keep in mind, you might see different prices at various stores. For instance, these prices were checked earlier in the month before stores started sales on turkeys. As for the future, Kuhlman expects the price of processed foods to continue to climb faster than average. He also noted that foods directly from farms will likely level out in price, saying they can't decrease the prices forever, as farmers are currently seeing increased costs. The time now is 5:22, still ahead of Fox 17 Morning News. Detroit Tigers star Tariq Skubal presented with a big honor. Thomas Cook goes over why he was one winner of the American League Cy Young Award.
Tariq Skubal has won the AL Cy Young and did it unanimously. 30 for 30 on first place votes. Skubal won the American League Triple Crown as well. The Tigers ace had a 2.39 ERA, 18 wins, and led all of baseball with 228 strikeouts. He won the award last night on his birthday, turning 28, and Cy Young seems like a pretty good birthday present. He dominated all season for the Tigers, carrying the pitching staff to the playoffs for the first time in a decade, and was must-see TV every time he took the mound.
All the hard work, all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, moments like this make it extremely worth it. And to have the support system that I have and the people that are, right behind me, it means a lot to have those guys in my corner. It was a ton of fun to be a part of. The last 2 months of our season and even the postseason was very special. Obviously, it comes to an end. There's only one happy team at the end of the year, but it was a ton of fun to be a part of, and it's the memories and obviously experience will help our club going forward.
Grand Rapids Catholic Central is back in a familiar spot. The Cougars have made it to the state semifinals every year since 2016. Head coach Todd Kolster has a young team this year. They've been learning on the fly. Catholic Central gets set for Frankenmuth this weekend as they look to go back to Ford Field for the second straight year.
It's awesome. We were just kind of talking about that, our coaches inside. It's one of those things that it's a pretty amazing thing. You don't think about it when you're in it, but when you stop and think about it and you think about what these guys have accomplished this year, it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, we bounced back. We scheduled those hard games, to prepare for this. So I think it was a really good preparation, and now we got our groove and we're going every game, game by game.
That's a look at your morning sports. I'm Thomas Cook.
Time now is 5:27 and still ahead at Fox 17 Morning News. We are in some of the first snow showers of the season this morning here in West Michigan. Kevin Craig has your forecast, and of course, Andy Curtis is on the road looking at conditions straight ahead. Plus, Benton Harbor, the Palisades nuclear plant talks to restart it. We'll go over the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's updates for the public. Now on Fox 17 Morning News, West Michigan long overdue for some snow, but it looks like we finally got some this morning. We'll show you how much with Kevin Craig. We're checking the forecast, and Andy Curtis out in his element, outdoors, showing you the conditions. Plus, Palisades nuclear plant is about to restart, but not everybody is on board with that. Updates from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the safety concerns some area residents still have. The Kent County Health Department alerts residents to a rise in whooping cough. How many cases have been reported so far?
You're watching Fox 17 Morning News.
We first take a look from Muskegon early this morning. See some flakes and a dusting on the cars, maybe sometimes a little bit more than just dusting. So winter is actually taking kind of an ease into winter weather. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. I'm Rob Westaby. It's November 21st. We'll have Andy Curtis taking a look at the conditions outdoors, but let's stay indoors and see how things are looking from the Weather Center and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Craig.
Yeah, right off the bat, this is not about the amount of snow that we're going to see. Right. It's about the first snowfall. The pavement is wet, temperatures down around 32 degrees. So it's just a heightened awareness. We might see some accumulations on grassy areas. Some of us further east of US 131 are just going to see a few flakes and no accumulation at all. And then if you're south and west of Grand Rapids, down into the southwestern portion of the state, you might pick up a couple of 2-3 inches there. So that's really the layout here. That's why we're running with the heightened awareness with the red banners, just to let you folks know, hey, first snowfall of the season. We're here to tell you about it, not to upset you or alert you too much about it, but you need to know about it. And that's what's going on out there. Here's a live shot in Fremont. There's not much going on out there, although they do have some wet pavement. And look at the snow showers here that are going on. There are some areas like up in Fremont that aren't seeing anything right now. And then Calhoun County, Battle Creek area, into Branch County, not seeing anything. But at the heart of the viewing area, through Muskegon, through northern and northeastern Ottawa County, and into Grand Rapids metro area and Kent County, those darker bands of blue, those thick, fat, heavier, wet flakes, foam flakes are flying here around South Haven and the northern portion of Kalamazoo there, and then down into Berrien and Cass County as well. The other part of it, we look out to a wider perspective, there's more. There's another burst up here that's going to continue to drop to the south. The heaviest snow from that will be over eastern Wisconsin, but we will see some of that snow move in here throughout the morning hours as well. So again, we're looking maybe a dusting into some grassy areas in most cases, and that is going to be about it. Our temperatures are about 33 degrees in Grand Rapids. We're 34 in Fremont. In Big Rapids, 31 in Allegan, so it is conceivable there could be some slippery spots out there with their wet pavement, so keep that in mind. And then wind chills are in the 20s in a lot of spots, and the 20-degree wind chill factors or 25-degree chill factors will stay with us for a lot of the day. Your Thursday planner shows some snow showers in the first part of the day, maybe mixing with and changing to some light rain showers this afternoon, but high temperatures stuck only in the upper 30s to maybe 40 degrees at best. We'll see what's in store moving forward to Friday and into the weekend coming up in just a few minutes. It's 5:34.
Thanks, Kevin. Now we have Andy Curtis out live this morning so you can get a peek at what's going on when it comes to the snowfall at various locations. Have you changed your location now?
Hey, good morning, Rob. Yeah, we're in Walker. We've been moving around a little bit this morning, and so far we're seeing exactly what Kevin's been talking about. The roads have been slick, but we haven't seen a lot of snow accumulation on I-90 or 196 or 96 where we are right now. It is starting to pile up just a little bit on the grass where we are here. You're just starting to see it stick around a little bit longer, but for the most part, everything is just wet, and that is including the snowflakes, big, fat, wet snowflakes, like Kevin had mentioned. Now, when it comes to your morning commute, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering how it's looking out there and what the Road Commission is ready to do as we start to see more weather like this moving forward in November and December. Well, we talked with Jerry Byrne with the Kent County Road Commission earlier this week, and he told us there are still some construction projects going on, so be extra vigilant in those areas, especially with the change in the weather, and they are changing their vehicles over to all the improvements and upgrades that they need to do to be ready for winter, and they're ready to roll.
Right now, there's about 60 plus trucks ready for winter. There's about 40 that still need to be switched over, but again, we're still patching potholes and doing things we need a dump truck for. We still have active projects going on because, you know, a week ago it was really warm weather and we're paving. No matter if it's slushy snow or it's really blowing cold snow or if it's just rain, if the pavement's other than dry, you need to drive accordingly.
Now, he added that you're not going to really see any ice and salt trucks out here today because things are still too warm. It's more on the rainy side of things, and that'll just wash the salt away. But they are ready when they do need them for later in November and into December. Now, this isn't the worst by any means that we've seen when it comes to winter weather. Nobody's saying that, but this is a really good reminder that you need to have everything ready for the winter in your car when you need it. I'm talking extra gloves, hats, maybe a snow shovel, anything that you need to have in there for the long haul. Today is a good reminder to start packing it up and make sure that you have it ready and ready to use. Reporting here in Walker as the snow flies, Andy Curtis, back to you, Rob.
President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Pete Hoekstra for U.S. Ambassador to Canada. The news comes less than a year after the Republican Party recognized Hoekstra as the chairman of the Michigan GOP. Hoekstra previously served as ambassador to the Netherlands during Trump's first term. After that, he has represented parts of West Michigan before that in Congress from 1993 to 2011. The city of Cedar Springs is providing updates on its boil water advisory. At 6:45 Tuesday night, the city experienced a temporary loss of water pressure due to a failure with the alarm system that monitors the levels in the water tower. The problem, we're told, was quickly fixed. However, state law requires a boil water advisory to be issued when something like this happens. The city is currently testing for bacteria. The advisory will remain in effect at least until Friday afternoon. And due to the advisory, Cedar Springs is inviting residents to pick up bottled water today. The distribution, we're told, will be at the Cedar Springs Fire Station from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Cedar Springs Public Schools are closed again today because of the boil water advisory. An explosion and fire at a condominium complex Tuesday night in Lake Orion has left 2 people in critical condition. Multiple residents in the area reported hearing a loud explosion, and video from the scene shows smoke and flames close to some buildings. The local fire chief says it was a gas leak explosion, but they are still investigating. It's believed to be one building in the complex that exploded and sparked a large fire that damaged other units. It was this past summer when a 3-year-old boy was found dead inside a hot car in Vicksburg. Well, now we're learning the child's father faces charges in the case. Chad Martin is charged with child abuse, leaving a child in a vehicle unattended, resulting in death. The incident happened August 13th. Investigators say Martin left his son in the car for hours when he forgot to drop the boy off at daycare on his way to work. Records show Martin has worked between 6:40 a.m. and 3 p.m. Then they found his son's body after shopping at a family fair later in the day. The boy died of prolonged heat exhaustion. If convicted, Martin could spend up to 15 years behind bars. 2 people have been charged in a deadly shooting in Muskegon last month. Muskegon police say the shooting happened October 28th on Sophia Street. We're told Andre Garcia was killed in the incident. 2 men, 44-year-old Robert Pompey Jr. from Lakewood Club and 36-year-old Benjamin Fields from Muskegon Heights, have since been charged with open murder. Anyone with information is asked to call Muskegon County Silent Observer. More than 120 pounds of cocaine was recovered in a traffic stop in Berrien County this week. According to the sheriff's office, the drugs were seized on Monday when deputies received multiple tips about a semi transporting narcotics along I-94. The approximate street value is about $1.5 million. The 22-year-old suspect, who is from Canada, is currently being held in county jail. And no word yet on the charges he faces. The Kent County Health Department is alerting residents of a rise in cases of whooping cough in Michigan. We're told whooping cough has been identified in 869 people across the state, and that number is up 31% over previous years. There have been 17 reported cases of whooping cough in Kent County alone this year, most of which have occurred during the school year. 12 of these cases were reported in children. 2 of them were hospitalized. Kent County's Health Department says anyone can contract whooping cough, but the disease may be severe and even deadly for infants and people with chronic diseases. Learn more on our news site and our website and our Fox 17 News app. The conversation continues about restarting the Palisades nuclear power plant. Fox 17's Waleed Lemna went to Benton Harbor to get the latest on the plant, which many people find controversial.
I think it's a mistake, and I'd like you to reconsider restarting it.
The restart of the Palisades nuclear power plant would be history in the United States, but it has the West Michigan community asking questions.
You know, how long would it take? What they got to do to get it started?
Questions about what the restart would mean for the West Michigan community economically. Nick Culp of Holtec says it'll do a lot.
We've added more than 300 employees back to the site. In addition, we have hundreds of contractors that are on site. Most of those are from the skilled trades to support the restart.
But the underlying theme for tonight was safety.
We've got 6 generations of people who live there. And I want it to be there for another 6 generations.
So much so, members of FEMA's emergency preparedness program were in attendance to put minds at ease.
What we do is we work with the state and local governments to develop the plans and preparedness that they need in order to respond to a commercial nuclear power plant accident.
Those against the restart, like Kevin Camps, a radioactive waste specialist with Beyond Nuclear, say the plans in place aren't enough.
They need to be prepared for a large-scale evacuation of not tens of thousands of people from a 10-mile radius or a 50-mile radius, but depending on the weather conditions, when the disaster unfolds, you could be talking hundreds of thousands or even millions of people.
But as support continues to come from federal and state governments with loans worth billions of dollars, Holtec officials believe nuclear is the way of the future.
One of the great things about our restart has been the bipartisan support that we've received from both sides of the aisle. I think both recognize that regardless of your politics, that having reliable